Hello, everyone. In everyday life, we often find this phenomenon when your colleagues or neighbors buy a certain commodity, which draws the envy of others. You will also follow to buy this commodity. On a business trip, Zhang Na was accompanied by a colleague from another department, Liu Tingting. Liu Tingting is a lively and cheerful girl, and getting to know Liu Tingting gave Zhang Na a new sense of fun on this boring business trip. In between business trips, Zhang Na and Liu Tingting arranged to go shopping in local shopping malls during their free time, and Zhang Na was touched by Liu Tingting's generosity. Normally, when I go shopping, I like to pick some medium-priced products. Ordinary clothes are usually in the hundreds of yuan, rarely full figures, to buy cosmetics. I also pick some second-line brands that I can afford, both affordable and not bad quality. However, when compared to Liu Tingting, who has a similar income, Zhang Na could not help but feel ashamed of herself and felt that she was simply too pedestrian. She didn't even blink when she bought cosmetics for 700 or 800 yuan, shirts for thousands of yuan, and purses for 4 or 5,000 yuan, and even called out that the local shopping malls were cheaper than those in Shanghai, mobilizing me to go shopping together. But in Zhang Na's opinion, these discounted goods, even though they were a bit cheaper than those in Shanghai, were far beyond her spending power. But after all, she was a new colleague whom I had just met, and Liu Tingting and I earned about the same amount of money, so if I was too shabby, wouldn't I be laughed at? Out of love for face, Zhang Na also let go of her courage to spend nearly half of her income to buy a brand-name leather bag. When she returned from the mall, Zhang Na regretted it. Unlike Liu Tingting's happy single life, Zhang Na was newly married last year, and has to repay a substantial mortgage with her husband every month. But buying a handbag cost her half a month's salary, and when she thought about paying off her credit card next month, Zhang Na became a little worried. The occasional purchase of a luxury item is not a big deal, but more importantly for Zhang Na, her spending mentality has been affected. It is inevitable that women will compare themselves with each other. When I think that my colleague earns about the same amount of money as myself and is so happy when shopping, I start to feel a little unbalanced. Why can't I raise my consumption level to a higher level like Liu Tingting? This shows that people's consumption behavior is influenced not only by their income level, but also by the consumption behavior of others, mainly those with similar incomes. This is where the demonstration effect comes into play. The term demonstration effect was first used by psychologists to summarize their research on human behavior, and is now widely used by economists to study human economic behavior, and in particular human consumption behavior. The demonstration effect is often a two-way street, the influence of bad and good role models. Dynamically, the demonstration effect eventually leads to a minority becoming the mainstream. So why do people eventually develop this dominant trend? An explanation can be found in the theory from Nobel Prize-winning economist Jerry Paul's book, The Economic Analysis of Taste. It is very interesting to say that Paul's theory was closely related to the fact that he often accompanied his wife to restaurants. At the time, there were two seafood restaurants in California. Paul noticed that his wife had a very strange behavior, in that she always chose the one that was fully booked out of the two restaurants. In Paul's view, the two restaurants were of exactly the same quality, the difference being that one was crowded while the other was far less crowded. Why is this the case? After careful observational study, Paul arrived at one of the theories that would later win the Nobel Prize as the basis for his theory. Rational people support their own way of life. That is, whether or not they are rational depends on how they live. Therefore, there cannot be a set of actions whose actions are rational for everyone. That is, consumers' demand for certain goods depends on other consumers' demand for those goods, referred to as the demonstration effect of consumption. It is true that consumers compare themselves with other consumers when they recognize and deal with their own income and consumption and their interrelationships. For example, when an organization makes a donation to a poor area, this is of course a consumption expenditure for the person making the donation. Some people do not necessarily look at their own income at this point, but will first look at how much others around them have donated. They will use their own judgment and feel that they should donate as much as those who do. Even if his income is higher, He will not donate more. He is worried about the suspicion of being in the limelight. Even if his income is lower, he will look to a certain section of the population, and will even make a swell face. He does not want to be called stingy. In theory, what is being shown here is the demonstration effect of consumption. This leads us to see that consumers are divided into many groups, and that there are many consumers who consciously or unconsciously count themselves within a certain group, and whose consumption is aligned to others within that group. In a market environment, especially where there is an abundant supply of goods, the demonstration effect of consumption becomes more and more obvious and has a greater influence on the relationship between supply and demand in the market. For example, if someone sees that someone else's clothes are beautiful, they will try to buy a set to wear on themselves, regardless of whether they look good or not. The celebrity effect is also a typical phenomenon of the demonstration effect, which fully explains why various businesses have to hire celebrities to advertise their products at great cost. In modern society, the demonstration effect is a constant influence on people's economic life and their spending habits. When consumers see people buying high-end consumer goods because of changes in their income levels or consumption habits, they may follow the example of others and expand their spending, even though their own income has not changed, or they may be reluctant to reduce their spending even when their income has fallen. The demonstration effect can even cross national boundaries, as residents of one country may follow the example of others and change their consumption habits when they are exposed to the purchase of high-end consumer goods. The demonstration effect of consumption can then cause people in low-income countries to consume far more than they normally would, leading to problems such as insufficient savings and large balance of payments deficits.